I don't know, Chewy. I got a bad feeling about this. I see him! I see him! Get up here and hold the mouse so I can make the jump to hyperspace. I hear something. Orlando. That might work. Hey everybody, welcome to the Down the Road Travel Channel. My name is Will Van Winkle. Today I'm talking about Disney's Hollywood Studios in Orlando, Florida. But before I get started, I do want to say we've got a lot of trips planned this year. There's going to be a trip to Berlin, some whale watching up in Massachusetts, trip into Maine, as well as looking back at some stuff that we did before I started the travel channel. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. That way you don't miss out on any of that information or any of those videos. Now, we're going to get into Hollywood Studio. As I said back in the past, if you saw the Fort Wilderness Studio, when I was transferring video files over from the camera to the computer, I was doing so on Wi-Fi at the campground. And campground Wi-Fi is notoriously bad. Disney's Fort Wilderness is no exception. So I lost most of those video files, and this one is no exception. So I'm going to do the best I can with some still photos and what very few video files I have left over. I think that's really only on Mickey's Runaway Railroad. So not going to be a lot of video, and I do apologize for that going forward. I'll start transferring everything via cable rather than via Wi-Fi to keep that from happening. Now, Hollywood Studios, it's originally Disney MGM Studios, and it was meant to not only be a theme park, but also a full production studio. Back when Universal announced that they were opening a similar park just a few miles away, Disney decided to speed up the building process, and they entered into that contract with MGM. And then the production facilities were removed back in 2000. All MGM branding was removed by 2007. But with the rush to get the park open, in some areas you can see where corners may have been cut. It may have also been that they were attempting to make it look like an actual production lot. So it's really hard to say. It may have been on purpose, it may have been an accident. I'm not sure which is true, but either way, Hollywood Studios was our second theme park of our December trip. And with the Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge, it has become the favorite of quite a few park goers. As resort guests, you can arrive by bus, friendship boat, Skyliner, and with the 30-minute early park entry, we rope dropped two of the most popular rides, Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. This worked to our advantage as most visitors head straight to Galaxy's Edge to try to drop Rise of the Resistance, which we did back in June, but still had a very long wait. And this prompted us to make the different decision and head right instead of left. Tower of Terror had the shortest wait I have ever seen. The Twilight Zone themed drop ride takes place in the Hollywood Towers Hotel. It's the second highest attraction in the entire Disney World complex, with Expedition Everest being about a half a foot taller. And with the free fall and the bouncing, it's not for everyone. But Scoop's Ice Cream is right across the street from the tower. It's a great place to hang out, get some ice cream or Mickey waffles, which are not on the menu, and listen to the tormented screams of those who dare enter the Hollywood Hotel. That's my evil laugh. It's also where you find me while waiting for the more adventurous folks in our group, who were on and off in record time. And then they headed straight over to Rock and Roller Coaster before the park's official 9 a.m. opening time. So this really worked to our advantage. When we did Rise of the Resistance back in June, I believe we were in that line probably about a half an hour to 45 minutes after the park opened, and that's including the 30-minute early entry. So this did work out a little bit better for us. Rock and Roller Coaster is themed on the premise that Aerosmith is doing a concert, trying to get fans there as quickly as possible. So you climb aboard a limo, which takes you through twists, turns, and spirals, all while some of Aerosmith's biggest hits play. Disney states the ride is for kids, teens, and adults 48 inches or higher, and there are rumors going around that it may be getting a retheme soon. No idea if this is true, but if it doesn't sound like your thing, Scoops is still right across the train tracks, and I mean, this is really good ice cream. After we were done at this area, we made our way over to Star Tours, the OG Star Wars ride at Hollywood Studios. I believe it's based on Endor from Return of the Jedi, and here's where I say it looks like the park may have been rushed. If you look at the AT-AT's legs from behind, you see framing, and then the same with the tree trunks for the Ewok Village, what I assume to be an Ewok Village. Star Tours is a 3D VR ride with multiple scenes, so even if you've ridden it before, it may seem new next time you go on it. In fact, they did just do an update, and the scene we had this time I thought I had seen before, but there was actually a very funny surprise for everyone. After Star Tours, we had some time to kill before our lunch reservation at 50's Prime Time, so we hit Muppet Vision 3D. It's set in a replica of the original Muppet Show theater, and it features classic Muppet characters, so it's fun for all, and most important, it's inside, so one of those all-important AC breaks in the summer. The one problem I have is that they pack you in for the pre-show, and it does take about as long as the actual 17-minute show, during which time you're constantly being told to fill in all available space. Now, in a post-COVID world, many are reluctant to get that close to the other people, so if you're one of those trying to stay away from others as much as possible, which is pretty hard at Disney, try waiting till the very last minute to get inside. Stay around the entrance, that way you don't miss it, because they do close it off and they won't let you in. Now, for lunch, usually we've gone to Mama Melrose. Italian is a pretty safe bet for most, and Melrose is decent food. Now, keep in mind, we are talking theme park food here, so decent inside the park may be a little different from outside. But I'd say Mama Melrose is at least Olive Garden quality, if not a small step above. This time, however, we decided on something different. Again, as a last-minute trip, we didn't expect much, but if you play with the Disney app enough, you might get lucky, and we did get lucky. We scored 50's Primetime Diner probably the day before our visit to Hollywood Studio. Now, I do recommend a sit-down service restaurant for at least one meal while visiting the parks, because most of the day may seem rushed because you're constantly standing or walking from one area to another. Let's face it, if you're trying to get those steps in, it is no problem to do at any of the parks. So stopping for a full-service dining meal will give you a chance to catch your breath, cool down, or warm up depending on when you visit, and get re-energized for when you're ready to hit the park again. 50's Primetime is the one where you must say please and thank you and keep your elbows off the table. Put your phone away unless you're using it to look at the menu. Now, that can be a little difficult with lightning lanes and watching wait times. We got away with a little bit more because we had just engaged buttons on. Disney does those celebration buttons. And we landed a cool cousin for our server. But the table across from us, they got in trouble a couple of times. So they are not afraid to put you in your place and well, they don't really slap your hand, but I think if you let them, they would. You can opt out of the 50's family style scrutiny, but why would you? It's a lot of fun, especially if you have someone that gets kind of embarrassed in your party and you're have a little bit of a sarcastic sense of humor, kind of like we do. The food, though, was awesome. It was the best fried chicken that we'd had in a while. I had the chicken pot pie, and I got my Clean Plate Club sticker because it was just so good. I mean, honestly, I was done a couple of bites before that, but I just had to finish it. My daughter had salmon salad and was very impressed with that as well. The classic decor, great food, scenes from classic sitcoms on TVs in front of you or by some of the tables. Not all of them have a view of the television. And great wait staff. It was a great overall experience, and I do have a feeling that we'll be back. As with Epcot, we now have a dilemma to try to figure out which restaurant we should choose in the future. So I guess it really is going to depend on reservations and what we can get on the app. And now for our first lightning lane. We hit, for the first time ever, Smuggler's Run. First, let me tell you a little bit about Galaxy's Edge. While I think Animal Kingdom is the best looking park overall as far as immersion goes, with Magic Kingdom being a very close number 2. Galaxy's Edge, in my opinion, is the best land I've seen at any of the parks. Of course, I'm a bit of a Star Wars nerd, if you couldn't tell by the intro to this video. At Galaxy's Edge, you will walk among life-sized replicas of X-Wing fighters, speeders. Even the bathrooms look like they're in a galaxy far, far away. In fact, this is so well done that in 2021, when we first visited the park post-COVID, I saw many grown men cry as soon as they turned the corner and saw the full-scale Millennium Falcon. And I'm not going to lie, I may have gotten a bit teary-eyed myself. That trip, we also dropped into Oga's Cantina, which you need a reservation to get in, and it's mostly just drinks with maybe some small snacks. But if you can't have sugar for any reason, maybe you're diabetic, maybe you just had surgery, you may want to skip it. Unless the menu has changed, when we went, we did have one person in our party that couldn't have sugar, just had a surgery, and had to order plain old earth water. Every other restaurant, quick service, or kiosk had at least one sugar-free option or no sugar added option. But Oga's, they didn't have that. So it was a little difficult for that person to get anything to make it worth going in for them. I mean, it's a great scene. It's a great atmosphere. But if you have to be there and you can only get water, there's really no point to going in there and getting the reservation and going through the hassle of trying to do all of that. But back to Smuggler's Run. We had a lightning lane, so made our way very quickly onto the Falcon, where Dana, who is also a big Star Wars fan, was awe-stricken by the accuracy of the interior compared to the movies. There are 6 people on the bridge. You'll have 2 pilots, 2 gunners, and 2 engineers. We had 3 people in our party. Another group of 3 who were right behind us had the other gunner position and the 2 engineer positions. Now, I joked that I wanted to blow stuff up, and the kid in the other party jumped at the chance to be a pilot. I think he was very excited about that. Dana was so focused on our surroundings and taking pictures of the cockpit that her shooting score was negative. So I won. I didn't realize it was a competition when we walked on, but apparently they have that going on. I had no idea what to expect other than I knew it was a VR ride, but I think most people who meet the 38-inch height requirement could handle this one, even if they're prone to motion sickness. We bought a lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance. I guess it's called a lightning lane, even though you're paying for it. I can't remember. Dana is the Disney guru, and I'm just kind of the Travel Channel guy. Our return time was after 6, so we did a few things in between Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance. But since I'm on Star Wars, I'll tell you about it now. First, if you are a Star Wars fan, I would say it's worth going through the regular queue at least one time to see the amount of details that they put into making this seem authentic. And then once you're through the queue, a transport takes you to your ship. And when you're captured by the New Order, the stormtroopers that greet you are very intimidating. The ride is fun, and there's so much to pay attention to between the ride, the details, and the storyline. It's probably my favorite ride in all of the parks. The benefit to having such a late lightning lane to Rise of the Resistance was that we were able to experience Galaxy's Edge at night. And once the sun goes down, it feels like a completely different experience. The drawback is that being newer trackless technology, with so much going on, the ride can break down and often does. Rise of the Resistance has a 40-inch height requirement, and there is one drop, a few short backward sections, but not enough to cause most people issues. If I'm going backwards for too long on a ride or upside down, I tend to get a headache, and I've never had a problem on rides. I've ridden it 3 times now. It's a great ride. I highly recommend it. You can tell I'm a little bit of a Star Wars geek now. Between Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance, we ventured out of Galaxy's Edge through Toy Story Land. Now this time around, we elected to skip any of the rides in Toy Story, having just gone on them in June. We thought this was more for the smaller kids, so was no need to really make the already long lines there longer when we just really didn't feel nostalgia or excitement from the rides. We heard Slinky Dog Dash was a great roller coaster. We went on it back in June. The line was horrible. It was extremely hot and humid that day. Big surprise in Florida. The problem is that the line has very little shade and only a few fans, and many people were feeling the heat. Now, I grew up in Houston, which has similar weather to Orlando, and I think even a little bit higher humidity. And I was suffering in that line. I almost had to leave. I dumped half a bottle of water on my head. I drank 2 bottles of water while in line, and I still felt kind of like I was getting the beginnings of heat exhaustion. So be real careful and, maybe watch when you're going on the ride. So This might have contributed to my lack of love for the area, but it's still a great beginner's roller coaster for the smaller folks in your party. Just be sure to drink a lot of water. And if you are going in the summer like we did, I recommend hitting it either early in the morning or late in the evening. If you are going to Toy Story Land, however, you'll see Tinker Toys, Army Men, and other toys around the area. But also pay attention to the ground. You'll notice the giant footprints. So this is another place where Disney shrinks their guests rather than just makes the toys bigger. It's great for those with very active imaginations. And again, attention to detail is perfect on this area. Once we made our way through Toy Story Land, we headed over to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It's another trackless ride, so again, prone to breakdowns, but we were lucky again. In fact, sometimes I'm starting to wonder if maybe the breakdowns aren't planned to help with crowd management. I'll never know. If you know, leave us a comment. It is great for kids. The pre-show has unexpected moments, and you'll get to see old pals Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Pluto, and Daisy. It's cute, it's relaxing, and it's air-conditioned. This ride is inside the Chinese theater, and it's suitable for all and has absolutely no height requirement. Fantasmic is open again, but we missed it. Character greets are back, and other shows exist around the park. We did catch the Indiana Jones stunt show, which I've never seen because every time I've been to Hollywood Studios up until now, it's been closed. So in October of 2022, it was announced that the show will close indefinitely at Disneyland in California, which sparked rumors that the show will close in Hollywood Studios in Florida. But to date, no announcements have been made of the sort, and despite the desperate need of reworking the show, which seems to center around Raiders of the Lost Ark, the oldest film in the franchise, the acting in the show seems to pander to the younger audience members, but they'll have little idea of what the scenes are based on. Now, because this is an outdoor theater with fire and explosions, if it's hot, I personally would stay away. If not, and you just want to sit for a half an hour or so in a covered area, maybe it's raining, I would recommend it, but don't expect too much, because in all honesty, the stunt show made 2008's Kingdom of the Crystal Skull look like pure cinematic excellence. And just to be clear, I like most of the Indiana Jones movie almost as much as Star Wars films, but the stunt show just doesn't quite live up to what you would hope for from something with that title. Now, a bit of movie trivia, though. In the Mel Brooks Star Wars parody, Spaceballs, Spielberg wouldn't allow the film if Lone Star appeared too similar to Han Solo. So Mel Brooks decided to dress Bill Pullman up like Indiana Jones rather than Han Solo. So another Harrison Ford character, but met with those contractual obligations, was allowed to make Spaceballs. By now, our day at Hollywood Studios was coming to an end, so we could hop over onto the Magic Kingdom using the buses out front, which also take you to all parks, resorts, and keep in mind you have multiple options if hopping over to Epcot. Now, I hope this video helps you with your trip. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, let us know what you think. If you like the original music I've used, be sure to look it up on Spotify, Apple Music, right here on YouTube, or wherever you stream music. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you down the road.
I won't be coming home. Let's hit the road.